Well, happy Thursday, you. How are you? Guess who's right here beside my foot, my knees? It's Baby Bear. Hello, Baby Bear. You're such a handsome boy. Where's brother? Simba? Simba? Here's Simba. Come sit, Simba. Look at Simba. He's so handsome. He's so handsome. And Bear's so handsome. They're so handsome. Look how handsome those boys are. Oh my gosh, they're just so good looking. They're just so good looking. They're the best boys in the whole world. I love you both so much. I love you, Angel. I love you, Angel. I love them both so much. They're so special. God, I love you. I love you, Simba. Give me a kiss. They truly are a wonderful godsend in my life. I love you guys so much. I love you guys so much. All right, so there's a number of things to go through today. So let's get to it. Okay, so first things first. There's a couple of notable things from history. I'll start with the bad news, the tragic news that occurred on this day 2 years ago. For many basketball fans, I'm not a huge basketball fan, but this is definitely a day that I remember being really tragic. But because his daughter also died. But American basketball player and very well-known American basketball player Kobe Bryant died in a helicopter crash. He and his daughter, along with a couple of other people, on this day 2 years ago, right before COVID hit, which was it was like that year was just the year of crapola because of that happening. So we lost Kobe Bryant, very talented player. And, really brought attention back to the league. He was one of the, guys who I would say was the inherited, can't speak today, inherited the court and the success and the really, from people like, Shaq and people like, of course, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, those guys like that. He definitely cemented his place in history. He and LeBron James as players on the court, and there's other people. I know that my friend Robert really knows about people like Avery Johnson and plays David Robinson. I had to remember the little joke that Robert used to do. He used to say, "Praise the Lord, Jesus Christ, and David Robinson." Trying to do the voice of Avery Johnson. So a very notable person in history. Unfortunately, he passed away. And his daughter, who was, very young, still a teenager, being killed in that crash is also very sad. Anybody dying in a crash, but I mean, these are people who, for Kobe's part, was very well known. Okay, so let's move on to some things in history that aren't as, unfortunately dark and tragic on this particular day. There's certainly a share of darkness in the world, but let's try and focus on some more interesting news. So back in 1837, the state of Michigan became the 26th state to join the United States. So it's hard to believe that it was just 28 years before everything happened with the Civil War. Well, the Civil War started in 61, but of 1861. But it's amazing that there was still not that many states connected to the United States at that point. So there were still 26, and I think Hawaii and Alaska joined in the 50s of the 20th century. Computer, when did Alaska become a state? Yeah.
It has been a state for 64 years.
So just over 64 years. As a matter of fact, it just celebrated its 64th anniversary. Computer, when did Hawaii join the United States?
From Wikipedia.org, Hawaii is the most recent state to join the Union on August
61?
21st, 1959.
Oh, so they joined in the same year, but on August 9th. So we'll probably revisit that on August 9th. They became the 50th state in the Union, Hawaii, at that time. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. Michigan this day in history, January 26th, 1837, Michigan becomes the 26th state in the United States. In 1880, someone who people may like or hate, very well known as a military leader, Douglas MacArthur, is born. Very anti-fascism, was responsible for, he was very well known. So you can get into Douglas MacArthur more if you want to. He's not the same as McCarthy, but anyway, MacArthur is very well known as a general and other things he did in political history. So look up Douglas MacArthur. I wouldn't want to begin to have a conversation about him because I'm not very as educated as a lot of people would be. But I know he's a notable character or personality or human being in the history of the United States. On 1925, getting into a little bit of the celebrity world here, on 1925, this day, January 26th, Paul Newman was born. Computer, what was Paul Newman's birth name?
Paul Newman's birth name was Paul Leonard Newman, and he was born on January
Okay.
26, 1925.
Yes, thank you. So Paul Newman actually used his own name when he joined. I guess it was early times when he didn't really need to change his name as much. There weren't as many people in the union, in SAG and all that jazz. So I don't even know if I don't think SAG was even a thing back then. Computer, when was the Screen Actors Guild formed?
Screen Actors Guild was founded on July 12, 1933 by Charles Lane.
Okay, so he probably did enter with the Screen Actors Guild in when he was, because he was only 8 at the time it was formed. So he was probably he was the only Paul Newman. So that's why it was pretty easy for him to join the union under his real name. That's often why many people change their names. As a matter of fact, just as a little offside here, did you know that Michael Keaton's real name is not Keaton? I think his last name is Douglas. So he has the same name as actor Michael Douglas, but because there was already a Michael Douglas in the union, he had to pick another name. Computer, what is Michael Keaton's birth name?
Michael Keaton's birth name is Michael John Douglas, and he was born on
Michael John.
September 5th, 1951.
So actually he's about to be 62. But yeah, so see, Michael Keaton. So a thing you should know about the Screen Actors Guild is that there's no two people who can share the same name. And it doesn't mean that they have to pick a totally different name. They may have to add their middle initial if that's necessary. Or they may have to, adopt like a mother's maiden name or a secondary name that means something to them. Some people just completely change their name in general, like yours truly did. I just adopted a completely different name when I joined the industry because for privacy purposes, not that anybody's private anymore, but I joined it for privacy purposes and the whole thing. So anyways, jumping back, Paul Newman was born this day, 1925. He would have been 98 if he was still alive, but I think he died in the mid-2000s, as I recall. Computer, when did Paul Newman die?
Paul Newman died on September 26, 2008 at the age of 83 years.
So he was, he died quite a long time ago. So yeah, he would have been 98, I guess 98, this year. Okay, so let's move on to 1958. 1958, Ellen DeGeneres was born. Comedian Ellen DeGeneres and, LGBTQ plus activist Ellen DeGeneres was born. Probably the first well-known lesbian performer on television, probably in the industry in general, because I can't think of anybody who came along before Ellen DeGeneres. Perhaps Rosie O'Donnell, but I don't know if she came along or if she was, acknowledging that she was a lesbian prior to Ellen DeGeneres. I think Ellen DeGeneres was open about her, personal life prior to Rosie O'Donnell, but I could be wrong. I don't know that much about Rosie O'Donnell or Ellen DeGeneres' private life because it's none of my business and I don't care. In 1961, probably my generation's most well-known hockey player. Well, I never really followed hockey, by the way, but he was considered back in the 80s, 90s, the most recognizable and most well-known hockey player of all time. Wayne Gretzky was born. So Wayne Gretzky this year, if he was born in 61, would be 62 this year. So Wayne Gretzky, 62 years old. And like I said, in the 80s and 90s, he was considered like the big guy in hockey. Obviously, he's not an American, he's a Canadian, but he's still, very well known in history for this day because he was born. So those are some of the days that hit. What was I going to say? Was there another one? No, I think that was it. That was the big stuff that kind of stuck out of my brain. So I want to talk a little bit now about something that is very political, and I want to talk about it because I find it terribly ironic that this is the case. So there is so much of a double standard when it comes to things. People pretend they want equality, but they don't really want equality. And I'll tell you, and they say they want inclusion, but they don't really want inclusion. So, and to be a united society. This is why Star Trek is a, over the rainbow kind of Wizard of Oz concept instead of actual reality, okay? Two things that I think I want to come up, if I can remember the second one, but I'm going to talk about this one first. The first one is, I mentioned yesterday in my frustration that Newsmax had been removed from AT&T and DirecTV's platform. And, liberals are celebrating it. Oh, it's great, it's great, it's great. They've been deplatformed, and they deserve it because they're misinformation and all that stuff like that. Meanwhile, for the longest time, they had Twitter where they would put out BS that was lies all the time because they had control of it. Once a guy who wasn't controlled by the liberal side of the philosophy took over, then they wanted to get it banned. So how can you say you want to be included and everybody to have the right to their opinion when the moment that you don't like what they say, you try to have them destroyed or banned or cut out from being acknowledged? That doesn't mean you really believe in freedom of speech or you believe in equality, because if you believed in equality, you'd say, well, you can say whatever you want, but I'm going to live my life and you live your life and leave me alone. Instead, you want to destroy people. So that obviously means that you don't really want equality. And then the second that someone does have success doing something that it doesn't meet your ideology, instead of staying on the platform and trying to live, coexist with them, what do you decide to do? You jump ship and go to a place that is more liberal minded. So that's like you're segregating yourself from other people. So how do you expect to say you have an open mind, expect people to believe you have an open mind and listen to a variety of ideas when as soon as you don't get your way, you run to another platform where everybody shares your opinion? You know who did that? People in the past. Guess what? It's because people congregate towards shared philosophies. And that's fine if you want to share that, but don't expect other people to do it, and don't want it. And it is hypocritical, and it's devious, and quite frankly, it's bordering on pure fascism. Pretty much is fascism, that you want to silence people who don't share in your opinion. Now, the United States doesn't have a history of always having good behavior and treating people right all the time. But if all these white people that you supposedly hate and think are toxic and cause all these problems, if they really didn't want to create an equal society, there were fewer enough black people and Latino people in the past, they could have eliminated them. And then they wouldn't have had to worry about it. They could have taken out the first people who were civil rights leaders and then and completely smothered that movement. But they did believe in equality. They did believe in a shared sense of community and wanted to unite. They wanted that success. But the thing is that they hide behind the word liberal, but it's really not liberal. It really truly is fascist. Because because fascists believe, if you don't believe the way we believe, then we're gonna, the word they use now is cancel, but really what they want to do is silence you. Silence you to where you can't have your opinion, you can't share your viewpoints. That's fascism. That is dictatorship. That is like a monarch. And this is where the problem lies with, the so-called, freedom of speech people, Antifa and Black Lives Matter. They don't really care about people who are black. They haven't helped black people. Antifa doesn't care about, protecting people from violence with cops. Maybe if you just try to coexist in society and not cause violence and steal from other people and hurt other people, then maybe there wouldn't be as many problems with cops because they wouldn't be as needed. Cops are needed now more because violence is getting worse. And then cops don't want to get involved because now they're being judged for trying to stop the nonsense and the danger and the people that are getting hurt. So don't pretend that you're, this higher, superior perspective. The reality is you're the truest sense of a fascist. You don't want other people to have opinions. And if they get a platform where they can share their opinions, you run and hide on the other side because you're incapable of having a conversation that's reasonable or saying, okay, fine, you feel your way, I feel my way, but we can still coexist and find equal ground in some things. No. No, instead, you go hide in your little corner and you say, well, this is where we're all going to hang out because this is where the cool people are and we're higher-minded. You're not higher-minded. As a matter of fact, you lack intellect because people with real intelligence would actually try to communicate with other people and share their opinions and not just call them names and say they're something that, in other words, let me take it back. You wouldn't sit there and call other people fascists when you're doing the thing that is the most fascist. So you can pretend all you want that you're not a fascist, but the reality is you're the truest sense of fascism and you're hateful. And you know what? Hey, I want to see what you do. If for some reason anybody watches this video, which I'm not really worried about people watching it, I want to see if you try to deplatform a blind guy who's giving you his opinion. Because am I not entitled to my opinion and to think what you are? Or am I not allowed to have that belief? Huh? Should I just sit down and be quiet? And here's something else that really gets to me about this whole liberal and this whole gender identity thing. Okay, so you want people to accept that you are what you say you are, which means basically have faith that what you say is true, but yet you don't believe in a God because there's no evidence that there's a God. Well, there's no evidence you're a woman when you're actually a man. You can do all the cosmetic things you want to your exterior to aesthetically try to make yourself look like a man or vice versa, a man look like a woman. But that doesn't make you that deep down. That is a mental choice. That is the same thing as having a belief in faith. It's belief without the presence of actual truth that you can point to and say, this is universally shared as truth. Because people like myself and a lot of other, average American people or average people throughout the world do not believe that just because you have the physical presence, the physical alterations done, like you're tailoring a suit, and you say you're a woman, even if you get the body parts, they're not functional body parts. It's pure costuming. You're not really a woman if you're a man. No matter how many surgeries you do, you don't change your chemistry enough to physically be a woman. Because if you could go have children. If you were a man, if you were a woman who became a man, then you could go you could go inseminate a woman. You can't do that. You are not what you say you are. But that's fine. You can believe you are what you want. but then you have no right to say there's no God. You have no right to say that religion doesn't make any sense and that there should be no religion, because you expect the same thing from people when it comes to you, yet you want to judge them for believing in a higher power. So who is really a hypocrite? I think it's you. And then lastly, what did I get accomplished today? So what I got accomplished today was I was able to get the process started for establishing my LLC. I got that going. That's really great. I chose a company called Northwest Registered Agent, and so far I've been really happy with what I've experienced so far. I had, at the beginning of the day, 26,000 emails, and I got it down to just under 23,000. I think it's just under 23,000 now. So I got rid of over 3,000 emails today, which is great because I have a far too ridiculously large amount of emails that I just don't freaking need, right? I mean, if I'm not doing anything with this right now, there's no damn point to it. It's just a waste of space. It's taking in my email. It's taking up space on my phone. It's taking up space in my email accounts, and I just don't need it. It's not organized. It's just clutter. It's hoarding for the purpose of hoarding. There's just no point. Read it and delete it unless it's absolutely critical. Right? Right. Okay, so as far as packing is concerned, not really any packing gotten done today. I really did focus on getting some of those emails eliminated, which I'm very happy about. I'm going to try and do some packing now, but I didn't get any packing done today, which is sad because tomorrow is today is the 26th, so 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st, that's 5, and 2 on March 1st, that's 7, so 35 days. So starting tomorrow, we are literally at exactly 5 weeks before the move. Got to get moving on it. I did drink some water today, though. I drank a bottle of water today, which I'm really glad about because I hadn't drank any water in the last couple of days. So I'm glad I drank a bottle of water. It was carbonated water, but, I got all these bottles of water I got to get rid of. Just suck them down is what I really need to start doing. Just sucking them down. Just over the next, 5 weeks to get rid of them so I don't have to pack them up and carry them anywhere. That's pretty much it for today. I hope you had a great day. I hope you're doing well. You're accomplishing goals. You're believing in yourself. You're focused on your what's important to you. Don't worry about other people. Let them live their lives the way they want to. Don't judge them because judge not lest ye be judged. And bottom line is, why are you judging other people? Go live your life. Don't expect them to live their lives the way that you want to live. The majority should rule, and the minority should accept that the majority is going to make the rules. It should not be the minorities making the rules. It should be the majorities. And minorities doesn't mean black, white, black versus white or Asian or Latino. It means people who have the shared ideology. And here's the thing. A lot of black and white people share the same ideology. We have a Christian base to us. And many white people who are here now were not here when slavery was going on. We had no part of that. And I know I didn't have any part of it because I wasn't born until the 70s. I had nothing to do with it. And I'm not toxic because I happen to be white. I'm actually French, okay? My family wasn't even here. We weren't even a part of it. Am I toxic also because I'm sight impaired? Am I does that get me out of being toxic because I am a malfunctioning human being when it comes to all my parts working? I have a disability, so now I'm not toxic because I can't be toxic because I'm inferior because my eyes don't work properly. Who knows anymore? But I don't think I'm inferior. I don't think you're inferior. Whoever you are, live your life, be happy, pursue your goals. Nothing is out of reach. Some things are harder, yes, much harder, yes, but it doesn't mean that you'll get there to the solution in your lifetime. but maybe you'll help to make it move forward so that someone in the future can do it. And there's nothing wrong with being a pioneer. The pioneers didn't make it to today, but they started the process. And pioneers are grand parts of a society. They make things happen. Just like the black folks who got out of slavery and started families and began businesses and became productive members of society and did what they could to raise families and put God-fearing people out in the world and work hard to feed their families. Those people contributed to society, just like the people who were on the lower middle class side that were white or who were Latino or whatever else. We're all part of society. We work together and we share a lot of common beliefs. People don't want you to believe in God because God gets in the way of them telling you what to do. That's why they don't want you to believe in God. Don't fall for that. You believe in whatever you believe. There is something greater in this universe than us. And because if there's not, then what's the point, right? What's the point? God bless you. Take care of yourself. Spend time with your family and your beautiful angels like my two there, little Simba. I'm Bear. I'm Bear. Life is fleeting. Moments with the people you love are fleeting. Hug someone, play. Try not to get too caught up in the minutia of the world that you don't celebrate the beautiful moments you have with people and the canine kids or the animals that you have in your life that bring you joy, or anything that brings you joy. Remember, it's over in ticks. God bless. See you later.